So after Xena told Lao Ma about how good I was in bed sexually and romantically, I could read her thoughts and I knew she already wanted to marry me, and she was also excited to get my powers. But her and Xena continued talking about other things. They talked about the Olympians and adventures they have had. Xena even mentioned Joxer and our adventures with him before I gave him his powers and combat experience, and she said I should like to meet this Joxer. He sounds funny and amusing. Yes, we could, but my husband took away his ability to be clumsy and amusing. And then Xena mentioned our naive and kind son Goku, whom I'm very fond of because he reminds so much of Son Goku from Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super. He acts just like him. And they both talked about his sweet and kind adorable wife Callisto, how she's just as innocent as Goku, and that Goku and her always spend every minute together. And Lao Ma also said I definitely want to meet your twin sons Goku and Turles. They sound interesting. Is all your children powerful also? And Xena said yes, they are. I also have a daughter named Eve and she looks kinda like me. She even has my blue eyes. And my son Solon strangely has long blonde hair and he doesn't look like me or his father, but he has his father's abilities and they are all immortal and they have all his powers. And Lao Ma asked, do you have the ability to fly and teleport like I've heard about the Beander, your husband, and can you show me please? And then Xena levitated and flew around. She said you have this glowing blue-white aura around you. Is this Kai? Lao Ma asked, and Xena said no, my husband calls it Ki. He said it's life force energy that exists in all living things, that only truly powerful beings can wield this magic to the greatest potential, but everyone can learn how to use Ki. You just need to know the technique. And he also said meditation helps greatly. You must have a calm mind and a strong spirit. He said visualize the energy within and will it to come out as we meditate. And Lao Ma said fascinating, that would also mean his spirit is also incredibly strong along with his life force. That would mean his body would also have to be equally as strong to compensate for all that stress on his life force and spirit. He must have trained for many of years to master that power. And Xena said my husband is 1 billion years old. He trained for millions of years. And then Lao Ma said wow, so he really is immortal? And Xena said yes, he's been around since before humans walked our earth, and he was even on his old earth for millions of years until it died. He spent a lot of time on his old earth before its sun burned out and all of its people were wiped out by wars and plagues. He was there to herald the end for his earth. In other words, there was no saving his earth. By the time he got back to his home earth from heaven and training, it was already too late and a massive plague virus had wiped out more than half of his human population. He heralds the end for the world's all earths and they are reborn anew by him and his fathers. Will they make immortal planets, him and his father God? And they finally finished talking about me and everything else that they wanted to talk about, and they got along nicely. And then Lao Ma finally came to talk to me and she said I wish to marry you, but I want to make love to you first and I want you to give me your children like your other wives, but before I have your children I'd like to get those powers after you make love to me. And I said okay, where do you want us to go to do all this? And she said my private bedchambers. I will lock the doors so we are not disturbed or distracted. And then I took her to her room and I used my sex magic on her and I sealed all the doors and windows magically so no one can disturb us. I basically put us in a dimensional space together where she's constantly aroused like how Lilith and Aphrodite taught me how to do. She said by Buddha, what have you done to me? And she looked at me with lustful sexual hunger, a deviant lewd expression, and then she tore off all my clothes very fast and then she proceeded to deep throat my erected member ravenously until I let out all my seed in our mouth, and she showed me she swallowed it all and she kept sucking, and then I filled her mouth again and she swallowed again, and then she feverishly rode my member in the cowgirl position ravenously like an animal. She was growling and grunting and screaming with lustful orgasms. I gave her oral pleasure many times and she enjoyed that very much, and I continued to have sex with her in every position until her mind broke and she passed out on top of me with my penis still in her vagina. And then the next day when I woke up she was giving me a blowjob ravenously again and she said finally you're awake again. She said I just can't help myself, I continued having sex with you even when you were asleep. You just felt so good, I can't stop, I don't want to stop, you made me feel so good, I love it, oh I love it.